Hey, what's up YouTube? Tom here at Birds Blades. So today we're taking a look at this benchmade. This is their 710. It's a blue class knife, so that's like their work line of knives. The date of birth on this one is 4/16/2024, and it is a limited edition. I happen to get number 1417 out of 2500. So this is not a first impressions of the knife because I've actually carried this for a few months now, but I figured I would put it back into the box just to show you how Benchmade packages this knife. And it's just like every other Benchmade I've ever got. You have your little access tag, you have your Benchmade baggie, and your little care manual. So there's nothing special to the box or the packaging. But the knife is special, I guess, because so this knife is remembering 25 years of the release of Benchmade's access lock. And for this knife, they upgraded the access lock. They actually, if you can see down in there in the liners, they flattened the omega springs off and they tucked them into the liners, not into the handle scales. Whereas on the traditional Benchmades, their omega springs are tucked into the handle scales and not the liners, and they are rounded off. And people complain, I guess, that they break. My opinion on it is, for how many Benchmades are out there that are using the access lock, considering how many are out there and actually how few come back broken, I don't really think it's that big of a problem. But it is nice to see that Benchmade is listening to their clients and addressing problems that they bring up. So on top of that, they did ramp the access lock on this, so it makes it a little easier to access. Personally, I like it a lot better. I like how it has that nice kind of sharp stepping to it too. Like you're not going to slip off that unless you want to. Other than that, this is pretty much just a normal Benchmade 710. The ergonomics on it now, I don't mind. Initially, when I unboxed this knife for the first time, my first impressions were, I hate the ergonomics. But now I don't mind them. I suppose we should probably get into some specs of this knife. So when this was available, it was coming in at $600. The closed length on it was 4.98 inches. The open length, or the overall length from tip to butt, is 8.95 inches. The blade length is 4 inches, so it's a really big blade. The blade thickness is 0.114 inches. And the weight of this knife is coming in at 5.2 ounces. The blade steel on here is a CPM magnucut with an HRC of 60 to 62 HRC. And it has a flat earth PVD coating or PVD finish on the blade, the pivot collar, and the backspacer, which aesthetically I think makes for a very aesthetically, I guess, appealing knife. You have little splashes of flat earth kind of all over the knife, and I think it looks good. To some, that might be a pretty big knife. Me personally, I like big knives for EDC. For a comparison, I have this Microtech MSI, and I think this is a phenomenal size for an EDC knife, and you can see that these things are about identical. Very similar in size, I guess. Thickness, just overall, it's very similar. So I think that this is a really good EDC size personally. My one complaint about this knife, kind of like I briefed over earlier, was the ergonomics of it. When I initially unboxed it, I hated the ergonomics on this thing. But that's because me personally, I think the perfection for ergonomics on a knife are a Spyderco Paramilitary 2 It just, to me, it's like it's built to be held. It's made for a hand to hold it and use it. No matter how you hold this thing, it's going to be comfortable. And the ergonomic lines are just different. So now, a few months after carrying it as an EDC knife, the ergonomics kind of grew on me. I learned to disregard this thumb ramp here and just kind of choke up onto the blade when I'm doing like kind of hard, like precise cutting, I guess. Otherwise, I do use it, or sometimes I just kind of just do the fist grip, you know, and just bear down. I don't know. It's not bad. The handle scales on here are aluminum handle scales with some sort of black coating. I don't know what black coating they have, but you can see that around the edges it is starting to kind of flake off or chip off, scratch off, whatever. But that's to be expected. I mean, I carried this knife to work and I've used it as a work knife, so a little wear and tear here and there is to be expected. Scratches on the blade. Anyway, these are full aluminum scales, and I really like them. So they have this little milling line here that to me kind of creates like a fake bolster type of look on the knife, and I really like that personally. On top of that, they have these straight lines kind of milled on the top half of the handle scale there, and then the little like dimples on the bottom portion, and it makes for a very easy knife to hold on to, even when your hands are covered in oil or grease or whatever. Like, you're not gonna drop this knife unless you intend to. So I really like how they did that. Looks good. Jimping. There is jimping down here where your index or your pointer finger goes, and then kind of up here too. And that's so you can, like, I guess use that maybe as kind of like a finger choil sort of to choke way up on the blade, which I have done, but I don't love it, not fully convinced yet. And then they do have jimping back here for your like thumb ramp, and then also on the back spacer is jimping. Other than that, there's no jimping anywhere else on the knife. I guess moving on, but sticking with the handle, they do have a lanyard hole on here, which doesn't really sway me one way or the next on the knife. Personally, I don't run lanyards on my knife, but I guess it is nice to know it's there. The pocket clip, this is my favorite pocket clip from Benchmade. It's the same one as my, what is this, Mini Presidio 2. That is my favorite pocket clip that Benchmade offers, due to it just being so long that you have to pull it so far out of your pocket before it will actually fall out. And on top of that, the retention on this one and that one is like perfect. And it is a deep carry clip, so you only have a very little amount of knife sticking out of your pocket. The pocket clip is also reversible, so you can left hand carry tip up or right hand carry tip up. You cannot tip down carry this, which to me is fine. I don't tip down carry any of my knives anyway. The liners on this, these are full steel liners, which you could say might be slightly unnecessary due to the aluminum handle scales, but this is their work class knife, so it's built to work, and it does. It's a beast of a knife. It's overbuilt. You can see they did drill holes in there just to lighten up the knife. But I like that how it's a full liner, because it gives you comfort in just using the knife, because this thing is a tank. Like, you're not going to break this knife if you're doing anything knife related or even slightly unknife related. Like, this thing's just stout. You can see a little better shot or angle, I guess, of the new Omega springs. One thing I did notice about this knife is that where your access bar rides, and I guess if that might be like the tang of the blade, I suppose, is like polished. So it makes for a very smooth action On top of that, it is running on bronze washers. If you can see down in there, doesn't look like you can, but this is running on bronze washers, which make for a nice smooth action with zero blade play, very good lockup. Just a user of a knife. I guess moving on to the blade, this is a recurve blade, so you do have that, like, I guess, recurve shape. Pretty high tip on it. You don't get a nice low tip for EDC, which personally I kind of like lower tips. I mean, they don't need to be like sheep's foot low, but just lower, you know? Like, I guess a good example of it again would be my Microtech here. It's a very low tip, which this is like a modified sheep's foot or a sheep's foot, but yeah, I don't know. So it has a nice high tip, I guess. You do have like a swedge. The grind lines on this thing are like super symmetrical. If I get my fat fingers out of the way. And the camera's not really doing its job right now, but yeah, I guess overall this is a fantastic knife. My impressions have changed on it over the few months of carrying it. Right away, I wasn't in love with it due to the ergonomics. I thought were pretty terrible, and then also I lost an edge like really fast with this knife, and I was kind of bummed because it's magnucut and it's a $600 knife, a limited edition benchmade. You expect the thing to hold an edge. So I actually had to sharpen it, and I think I put a 20 or a 25 degree edge on this, and ever since I did that, the edge has held fine. It's not a real slicer. It like won't really cut paper. I can pull paper here. Like it does cut paper, but not like great, I guess. But hey, that's all right for a work knife. That's good. One other complaint actually is this PVD coating is awful to keep clean. You get any sort of like anything on it, and it is not coming off. I actually clean this knife all the time with this white camp gas because that blade finish is a pain to keep clean. Overall, this is a great knife though. It's a sweet knife. $600 worth. Sure. Yeah, I would actually say it is. It's a nice overbuilt Benchmade. This video is kind of all over the place, but I don't know. If you liked the video, leave a like, comment down below what you'd like to see me do next. And until next time, thanks for watching. Have a good one.